The leader of a terrorist group was invited in the studios of European TV channel TV5 Monde, a publicly funded French language network owned by the governments of France, Switzerland, Belgium, Canada and Monaco. And the terrorist was explaining how the French government is funding their Islamist terrorist activities in West Africa, and that the Ukraine military is also supporting them to conduct terrorist attacks on the African continent. In understanding the pattern here, at the start of 2025, the US Congress heard how USAID was also sponsoring Islamist terrorist activities across Africa, including funding the infamous Boko Haram, which is murdering Christians and innocent civilians in Nigeria, and also Al-Shabaab, which I still do not understand what they're fighting for, but they're murdering their own people in Somalia. The question here is, what does international law say about state sponsors of terrorism? Before we get to that, I noticed that no African government or African civil society is thanking the Trump administration for shutting down USAID terrorism financing in Africa. The African elites are probably more concerned about the millions of dollars in foreign aid that they are simultaneously losing in that same USAID closure. Thus, some African governments and African civil society are not celebrating the end of state-sponsored terrorism financing that is slaughtering countless poor African peasants across the continent. This is the kind of madness brought about by the dependency syndrome that African elites are suffering from. Furthermore, as it is clear that Western governments are state sponsors of terrorism in Africa and are therefore involved in the mass indiscriminate slaughter of innocent African civilians, I am perplexed that not a single condemnation against these heinous crimes has come out from Africa since the revelations about Western sponsoring of terrorism on the continent. Not even a discussion at the African Union Summit, the United Nations General Assembly, or even the international conferences on terrorism on the continent. It even appears as if some Africans believe that the mass murder of Africans by Western governments is okay, as long as we are receiving foreign aid blood money in exchange for the murdered victims. And therefore no international justice procedures are required against the heads of the state sponsors of terrorism in Africa, like Joe Biden, Emmanuel Macron, and Zelensky, for example. Why not? Why is there no just judicial procedure against them? I can guarantee you that even M23 is secretly sponsored from overseas, probably Israel, which has huge mineral interests in eastern Congo, with weekly El Al cargo flights, that's the Israeli national airline, direct to the diamond city of Lubumbashi to pick the minerals and fly them directly to Antwerp, the international diamond capital of the world in Europe. Just Google the name and see for yourselves how Belgium still profits from Congo precious minerals shipped to Antwerp since the brutal colonial days of King Leopold II, aka the Butcher of Congo, to this day. Which Africans are concerned about justice for the African victims here? I thought you guys were the defenders of democracy, human rights and justice in Africa, not malicious tyranny and corrupt, callous, cold-blooded butchery of poor African peasants. Why are you letting such heinous crimes go unchecked if it is not that you are simply accomplices under the corrupt influence of foreign aid from these very states that are sponsoring terrorism in Africa? Clearly, this aid is cursed, and now something is sadistically wrong with you people. We should all be standing behind all the victims of Western terrorism in Africa, which I think I am hereby the first and only African personality to condemn in the name of the victims. Thank you.